Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to 86.7 FM. You're with Polar. It's time to get icy with some smooth jazz. Here. Oh. I hope he clicked the verification link, okay? Hey, everyone, join the Discord as well. Join that Discord. This is what this. If you want to support the community, consider joining that Discord. That's what I care about. The irony is so fucking good. Hey, what's so ironic about that? Hey, there's IRI. Hold up. Hello?
What's up, dude?
Hey, what's up, IRI? IRI, you want to shout yourself out for my viewers in case they don't know who you are?
What's up, everybody? I'm a brand new streamer. I go by I'm Really Important. It's all good. Is my volume okay on
Yeah.
my stream?
Look, it seems good. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, but in all seriousness, I talk politics on my stream. I focus on Capitol Hill, what's going on in the House and the Senate. I've been streaming over 2 years. I'm one of the founding fathers of Twitch politics, and happy to support up-and-coming streamers like Polar right here.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, everyone, if you don't know who IRI is, what are you doing? Okay, Internet guys, can we get the shout out for IRI in chat? He's very loud compared to you. Oh man, this always happens.
Check. You can just lower my volume in Discord, probably easiest way to do it.
I think so. Yeah, I got a new mic as of recent, so
I've never seen
OBS.
This.
Yes.
What mic is this?
This is the Neat Worker V. Okay, it had to be very unique for stream. I have to be. Yeah. That should be a little better now. Hey,
I like the shout out graphic. That's cool.
Yeah. I'm having an experiment with OBS. But IRI, okay, I came here because I wanted your unique perspective on Capitol Hill. So, as we all know, Trump has coronavirus. And I'm interested to hear your take on whether people should be, one, excited that he does it, and whether that's something that we should be praising.
Excited that he does what?
That he has coronavirus.
Oh, no, we shouldn't wish COVID on anybody. He's a fellow American, whether you hate him or love him. He's also the president of the United States, and we don't wish any demise on anyone's demise. You know what I mean? I mean, I can't tell people what to do, but I wish him a full recovery, and I just don't want to see anybody go through COVID.
Yeah, me too. I would also say it's like really optically bad, especially coming from during election time. It is pretty optically bad to to call and be excited for someone's I guess you could say demise, you know what I mean? Especially if the inevitable happens. That's what scares me.
Yeah, I mean, and there's always going to be people that are looking for internet points out there and to make money that will say sensational things, and they'll be painted as representatives of the left. But all we can do is lead by example and just keep saying, hey, we don't support that, and this is my position, etc. But that's the way the world works. There's always shitty people out there. Can I curse on your stream? I don't know.
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
Some people don't like that.
Yeah, I know some people aren't into it. I don't really care personally. But I think people also have this really bad misunderstanding of what would happen if he passed away. Everyone thinks that it's Pence who automatically becomes the nominee, which isn't true. It's actually the RNC who decides. Do you think that do you have any ideas of who the RNC may pick if this becomes a reality?
Well, it's important when it happens. So between now and the election, if he were to die, let's say, nothing would change. Millions of votes have already been cast, and all the ballots have been printed for both in-person voting, mail-in voting, etc. So nothing would change. It's technically impossible to reprint the ballots. And like you said, the RNC is the one who decides, and they would have to meet and have an election within themselves. So if something happens after election day, between what's called safe harbor date, a lot of people are going to find out about these new dates and these deadlines, which is I believe December 8th is the date the Electoral College has to have their electors selected in each state, and then they vote a week later for who the actual president should be. So there's 35 days between November 3rd and December 8th. And within those 35 days is when all the challenges will be for voting, and absentee ballots will be counted. And if during that time Donald Trump were to pass away, then the onus would be on the RNC to try to put someone forward who they think would be best. And
Mm-hmm.
most likely it would be Mike Pence. But it really comes down to the state legislatures who select the actual electors for the Electoral College to then decide who they are committed to. So it could be anybody at that point. And that's where things start to get really interesting.
Yeah, that's my understanding of it as well. Is like this happening and potentially him passing. I think a lot of people only look at this electorally to a certain extent, or don't even look at it electorally at all. I kind of also worry about what happens to his base, right? Like I fear that he's gonna become a martyr, right? In this sense, like in Republicans, I think the current right kind of really values things like strength, like resilience, and like fighting for your nation. So I kind of worry about the blowback, right? So initially, I may think that even if he does pass, like everyone is going to be like, yay, yay. We don't like have Trump as a president, but I think his quote unquote legacy will like last on for a lot longer of a time than most people realize, and may end up shaping the party.
Yeah, without a public lashing at the polls, he could go down as a martyr for a cause for a lot of these people and give them strength to move forward and feel like they have a mandate to keep pushing even more. But electorally, this is a disaster for Donald Trump. I don't know if you want to talk about that first, but
Sure.
his campaign is dying to shift the focus from the pandemic and the failing economy to things like the Supreme Court pick, where he feels he's strong, right? And those hearings are actually coming up, and they're still
Mm-hmm.
going forward on October 12th to confirm Amy Barrett. So this is the worst thing that could happen for him. Not only is the media gonna focus on the pandemic and coronavirus because he has it, and it's exciting to talk about, and everybody wants to talk how's he doing every single day. That's gonna happen for weeks, but he can't be out there on the campaign trail where he has a show of force with his rallies and trying to show that he's able to move on past it and everything's okay and shift the focus to Biden and Biden's feeble and all this nonsense. So this is a disaster, and it's just I think it's game over for Donald Trump at this point. But the legal challenges that could ensue that already were in works anyways are just a maze of problems and constitutional crises that we may still run into even if he doesn't pass
Mm-hmm.
away.
Yeah, that is something that I think Trump has been trying to do is like shifting blame, and this is in the debate as of recent. I thought that Trump did an okay job of, unironically. I think there's this clip where Biden is talking and blaming the crisis at hand partly on Trump. And Trump, for example, I think the direct quote by Biden is like, compared to every other nation, we have the highest death rates per capita, or something close to that. And the Trump responds and says, well, nor places like China and Russia aren't even actively giving the information. And I think this kind of demonstrates that I think he did a lot of prepping when it came to like shifting blame. And that's something that I think he realizes, and I think like him getting COVID is only going to make it worse.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he's trying to tell his supporters that it's China's fault. If China only did what they were supposed to, we wouldn't have had this problem. It's anybody but him, right? It's the Democratic governors out there that control the states that have screwed up. They want to shut down the economy. And even during the debate, he was saying the things like alcoholism and drug abuse and divorce
Mm-hmm.
rates, those are almost worse than any of these deaths that we've experienced. So anybody's fault but his has been his whole strategy. And now that he has coronavirus, it's really it's like a slap in the face. Like you brought this on yourself. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
this was no Democratic governor's fault that you got coronavirus.
Yeah, I think there was like this, especially with his like, oh my god, some of the supporters. Yesterday, I was on the Hippy Dippy podcast, and they had like we were talking about coronavirus, and it's crazy because like all of this nonsense has just completely seeped down into his base. I heard this comment yesterday, and if people who were there also heard this, but like, how were we supposed to address coronavirus when like we don't even know where it came from? And it was like we don't even know
Hmm.
if China made it up or if it's natural, so we don't even know how to address this. And it's like, oh my god, like when we talk about the effect that Trump has on his base, like to think that it's gotten this far is just crazy. So just shifting of blame isn't something that he's doing, but it's like everyone who supports him does as well. It's really toxic.
Yeah, well, there's a group of people out there who refuse to look in the mirror and accept blame for anything that's wrong in the world and need a boogeyman and someone, whether it's undocumented immigrants or China not containing a virus or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And they refuse to take responsibility for their lives. And he's their ultimate role model because he's never at fault for anything. So, and now it's caused his own personal problems. But it's interesting to hear you say that people were parroting those
Oh
points
my
even at this
god.
point on the Hippy Dippy podcast. I mean, all props to Dylan, but this is why I just don't even bother engaging with some of these people because the lower level people, shall we say, they're very uninformed and they're
True.
very much just repeating what they've heard on the news and such. And, so I like to talk to people like Lecture Fan, and people have their criticisms of him, but he actually does read the news fully and understand what's going on. And he may take Donald Trump's positions on everything, but at least I can have a conversation with him. But yeah, that's unfortunate to hear those people going along those lines.
Yeah, it's gotten to a point, and I saw this as well. Like the other Hippy Dippy podcast I was on, we were talking about media and how like it's really weird to say that like media or like the media says this about Trump. When we've already kind of in that same conversation, we already talked about how hey, media is like this abstract, multi-owned, multi-biases like industry, and you can't really group them together. And we get to that like nuanced conclusion that it's like, hey, well, like Fox is the largest cable news network. I would say that's pretty Republican, like that's pretty right leaning. And they're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But then as soon as we get back into another conversation, it's the media does this, the media does that, and it's just parroting the exact same rhetoric. And it's so hard to believe that like people who just parrot the same rhetoric, parrot the same talking points, have gotten as big as they do, especially when it came to some of the people that had gone on the podcast. So I think this may be a funny thing, but like, do you think he'll get the Boris Johnson effect? Trump, like he gets it, and then he'll like take a change in a route and be like, we have to start conquering this virus and start taking it seriously.
I don't think so. He's so invested in his current campaign strategy of just blaming everyone else, and we need him to solve this. That to admit any sort that he was wrong at all just goes against his character. And I don't know exactly what Boris Johnson did, but I know he got really sick, and he was at the point where he didn't have a respirator, but he was on oxygen in the hospital, and he won a bit of public sympathy for that. But Donald Trump, even in his 2 recorded messages that he's now released since he went to Walter Reed on Friday, he just continues to say, just thank you for all the nice messages and we're going to conquer this. But he doesn't seem to be changing his strategy at all.
Hmm.
And I don't think he gets a bump in sympathy, like
True.
support or anything like that because of it either. I mean, he's got a rough 48 hours ahead of him right now. He's definitely not out of the clear, and even reports out of the White House that he was on oxygen in the
Mm-hmm.
White House. I mean, this could be in a lot of trouble. 8 out of 10 people who have died from coronavirus, I think in the United States, are over the age of 65, and at
Yeah.
74 years old, overweight, and who knows what other underlying medical conditions he has. He's not the best person to get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes it really that like all the comorbidities, all of the underlying conditions. I also hear, oh my god, like it now that I think about it, just the parroting by his base is crazy because now I hear like things like that he'll get through it. He's like super strong, and then I, like it's like tearing up in my brain the fact that like he's established such a strong cult of personality that like they think that he's insusceptible to this virus. I think it's almost crazy.
Yeah, I have a feeling there's a lot of long faces out there amongst his strongest supporters because he painted himself as invincible, right? He
Mm-hmm.
goes, he does these rallies, he encourages his people to come out, screw this virus, don't let it dictate our lives. And these masks are stupid, and you only have to wear it in extreme cases. And now he's in the hospital. That's got to make a lot of his supporters take a step back and go, whoa. If Donald Trump can end up in the hospital over the weekend, I could probably end up in the hospital, and I sure
Mm-hmm.
as hell don't have access to Walter Reed's stellar staff and equipment. So a lot of people just probably questioning everything right now.
Yeah, we saw that with like the masks, right? Wasn't it the fact that he when he publicly just came out with the mask for the first time, it was like a 5% increase in the polls of like people wearing masks, and it's crazy to think like just him doing this has such a large effect on people. I wonder if it'll actually make people take it seriously now.
I hope so. I mean, that would be a silver lining to come out of all of this, that
True.
people take this more seriously and we save a lot of lives, right? I mean, I think that's definitely going to happen. And, thank God he got it now instead of March, where we have these therapeutics that
Hmm.
you can bring down the mortality rate. But yeah, I think people are definitely going to get a little more patriotic about wearing masks and maybe socially distancing and stuff. And
Hmm.
thank God, right? Like, it doesn't help us, the Democrats, win the election, but if it saves lives, I'm think that trumps anything in this country.
So IRI, I've heard you talk about like Trump having a low chance of winning, right? Do you
Hmm.
think that there's anything that he can do from this point on to maybe shift the election in his favor?
I don't see anything he can control unless he were to send people out into the streets dressed as Antifa and start riots or something. That is the only thing that moved the needle at
Hmm.
all, was him having a blessing of people rioting, even though most of them were peacefully protesting. But that's the only path that he can win on, is unrest in the streets, and you need me as a strong leader to keep law and order. Everything else, he's a failure on. The economy, the pandemic, foreign relations, everything else he has poor remarks. Even the debate. There was a
Yeah.
poll that came out today from New York Times and Siena or something like that that showed 65% of people in, I believe, Pennsylvania and Florida thought he did a terrible job compared to Biden, what was like at 39% or something like that. So even the debate was a disaster. So the only thing that will help him is if another police officer kills somebody. So if he can somehow orchestrate someone being murdered by the police, then between now and November 3rd, maybe he has a chance.
Yeah, oh man, I don't know. Like right now, I think depending on what actually happens to him, whether he recovers, what he says after, I think like this could be a very honestly, I don't know what's gonna happen next. I think the analogy that I use for this is like, man, if this is like an alternate year like a reality TV show, boy oh boy would this be interesting. The fact that we're living through it does not make it interesting at all. It's pretty scary to be honest.
It is scary, and you are. I look at it as you are making a sacrifice living through this, so that
Hmm.
we can make changes to prevent stuff like this from ever happening again. And there are a whole lot of problems that could happen after election day and starting on election day. I mean, he's already got this Army for Trump volunteer organization of 50,000 people to go watch the polls, whatever the hell that means, right? Like, you're going to show up and start like pushing people. I mean, it's just going to cause problems and interference in people voting and such. And then there's going to be challenges, right, to the mail-in ballots,
Hmm.
because he'll probably be in the lead in some places on election night, and then it'll slowly start chipping away as the votes are counted over the next few weeks. And as I mentioned, this safe harbor date of December 8th, when the state legislatures have to select their electors for the electoral college, the pressure will be on them as they get closer and closer to that date, 35 days after the election, that you have to decide who won the election in your state. And it could drag on for weeks counting these votes, and that's going to push our country to the limits. And there's even talk about some state houses
Hmm.
going against the popular vote, and because they can say, well, it was a fraud, and look at this couple of examples of
Oh.
ballots found in the trash for Trump and all this. And then they send even conflicting electoral
Hmm.
votes, because each party selects their electoral college votes. And so, like in Pennsylvania, there could be a set of Democratic electors that pick Biden, and there could be a set of Republican electors that elect Trump, and all in two different versions of their 20 electoral college votes go to the House. And, I don't know how much you want to get in this, but this stuff is what's going to really start
Hmm.
rocking our country.
Yeah, my understanding is that at least on the federal level, there's like little to no fines at a. Or is this elector like a? It's not technically illegal. It is illegal, but you just have to pay a fine if you go against like your state's like the constituents' votes, right? There's not that much of a penalty.
I don't think there's any penalty at all. You mean for the electors?
Mhm.
It's ultimately the Supreme Court deemed that the state legislatures have control over who who its electors are. And though the electors can be faithless electors and vote for
Mm-hmm.
someone other than who they state voted for, um, it's still a little up in the air with that stuff too. But um, the bigger concern is that the Republican Party goes around the popular vote, and that's obviously scary to think about. But they could frame it as there's just so much fraud, we can't trust the popular vote, and we got to make a decision, and we control the state house, so we're saying that the public supports us, and so Trump wins.
That is something really interesting about our government in general, is that like so much of what we do is based on precedent and isn't actually put into law. I had this really interesting conversation, I think a couple months ago, with Pisco 95, if you know who that is. Pisco 95.
Sure.
And we were talking about how difficult it can be to get around a lot of these problems because of what we consider precedent, right? So like, do we want to legislate this, right, and then have issues with the legislation, or do we want to necessarily set it to precedent? That's something that we saw a lot with Trump, right? Like people would call him like the precedent breaker, and then like he's not orthodox in that sense, and there's a lot of harm in that. Especially you mentioned it with like state electors. Like this is like I would say like unfounded territory. Where do we go with this, especially with the Supreme Court pick, especially with the current aspects of mail-in voting, especially with just the current election in general? It's all uncharted territory, and I'm just so interested to see how this goes, especially when it comes to like Republican electors just not agreeing with the state's consensus. That seems like a very dangerous thing to have.
Yeah, and there's a long list of these things that could go either way and that we don't have a clear solution for. And, the last time we had to deal with something like this was, I think, 1876 with Rutherford B. Hayes, where they just couldn't come to an agreement that anybody had a majority of the electoral votes. And so then it went, it goes to the House. People don't know this, but if somebody doesn't have the majority of electoral votes, then the House decides and each state gets one vote. And this gets really shitty for Democratic governments because the state of Alaska has one representative and the state of California has 53 with 40 million people. And we have the same power in that vote as the state of Alaska, one vote per state.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's scary stuff. Like, we really need to sit down and iron out this stuff. But one thing I'll say about Trump is he's exposed a lot of flaws, as you said, in stuff that was just precedent up until now. And I hope we can fix these loopholes and find solutions for them after the election in the future, so future generations don't have to deal with this, and we can be a stronger democratic institution, shall we say.
Yeah, that's something that I'm just, depending on how this election goes, I'm just so I'm so curious to see how, like, if this precedent is ironed out, whether these issues are ironed out. At least I'd hope after. Because this is something, especially when you mention like Alaska versus California, when people will like start defending the popular vote, right? Like electoral college, actually, they'll always base back to this form of like, well, states need representation, and it's like, do you realize how much of the power in our current set of government is dictated by non-truly democratic means, right? So, so like, for example, most people also don't realize that like a president's cabinet, right, isn't necessarily approved by the Senate, not by the House. It's approved by the Senate, right? And like we have a whole executive branch that's not even determined by a general popular means, and it's crazy to think that the executive branch has become so powerful in the recent couple of decades, but there isn't very much popular control that I think we deserve.
Yeah, I think people have this idea that majority rules, right? That kind of goes for everything in life. If you got 5 kids and you're trying to figure out where to go to dinner tonight, you say, okay, the majority's going to pick it. So if 3 of them want to go to Taco Bell, you're going to Taco Bell. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to sit there and be like, well, Jimmy was born with a cleft chin, so, we're going to have to give him a little more weight. And, Sally got A's on her report card, so her vote's worth 2. Like, you just don't do this anywhere else in life. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so even on a state level, like, why do we not have an electoral college system on a state level? We all seem to accept that. California is a very diverse place. This is where I'm from. That's why I bring it up. California got 40 million people. We have very red areas, very blue areas, and yet we all don't have any need for some sort of minority rule in this
Mm-hmm.
state, right? We seem to live fine. And so why do we have it on a federal level anymore? You know, it just doesn't make sense. Like what is the handicap that the state of Wyoming needs? Like nobody can ever tell me this. What is so bad about Wyoming that they need such a huge handicap where they have 76 times the power in the Senate as we do in California, because they have 600,000 people, they have 2 senators. We have 40 million people in California, we have 2 senators. So getting rid of the electoral college is one of the major fixes to
Mm-hmm.
resolve some of this stuff. And I'll just end it real quickly on saying I had a conversation with Lecture Fan, and I was like, the Supreme Court justice fight doesn't have to be like this. It doesn't have to be a huge fight every time a Supreme Court justice is opening occurs, but it is because we have lifetime appointments. So there's things we can do
Mm-hmm.
to change this stuff, to bring the temperature down, like term limits, and there's a lot of things we can do for the presidential election to bring the temperature down too.
Yeah, I think you kind of brought it up with Supreme Courts, but like most people, I think most justices end up retiring before they die, and we just left that up to precedent. It's crazy, how much of our government and like what like any form of like politician or like anyone that works for the federal government is like their roles aren't necessarily completely defined, and it's just like as I only learned about this as of recent, and it like really opened my eyes to show that like we're not as robust as I used to think we are. I think there's this really like interesting quote. I think it was like Secular Talk who said this, but like adults like we have this feeling when we're kids, right? This goes out to my fellow Zoomers, okay? But we have this feeling that like adults know what they're talking about, and that like everything in the world set up by like adults are robust, structured, and we all know what's going on. But holy crap, the more that I learn, the more that I realize that like we're not that different after all. Like generations go one after another. You never end up. Nothing is ever robust, especially even when it comes to governments and states. It's crazy how much like especially people who aren't as politically informed will think that like everything's gonna be like I don't want to say everything's gonna be okay, but like everything is set out. Like nothing is new, and it's crazy to me. Absolutely absurd.
Yeah, I mean, the more you learn, the more you see that things are kind of just patchwork, and there really is no absolute, you know. And then you look at a place like the United Kingdom or Britain, where they don't even have a written constitution, and that's like, can you imagine what would happen here in America?
Oh
Like,
my
now
god.
talk about precedent. So yeah, but look again, the more this stuff is revealed, and I think honestly think Donald Trump's kind of a blessing. It
Hmm.
sounds weird to say that, but he's pushing the limits of things and shining such a huge spotlight on some problems in our country that again, I think we will address them. People act like we're going to slip into authoritarianism, we're going to have a king. I don't think so. Like people that would be so it could happen, but it's just he's not really a strong man authoritarian, right? A real authoritarian would just rig the whole election, not let
Sure.
it happen, and then try to find ways to cheat it afterwards, right? So that's what Putin does. That's what other leaders like that do around the
Hmm.
world. So I think that we're gonna fix this stuff, and I try to remind my audience, like you guys are the sacrificial lambs, and what sucks that we have to go through this, but people will read about this 100 years from now and say, "Good Lord, how did Polar live through that?" Like this, I would not want to have been a United States citizen at that time. And again, if I go back to 1876, when things got really bad, it got up to about 2 days before Inauguration Day before they figured it out, and the military
Wow.
was starting to build up, and people were starting to say, "Okay, man, it's go time." There's some real things that could happen here, but I think cooler heads will prevail in all of this.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that is one aspect. Like, it seems like exposing things, especially in American history, has always been a good way of making sure that those things don't happen again, right? So like,
Yep.
we saw like the Supreme Court does this all the time, or like we saw this with the supremacy clause, for example. This is a really big one, but the nullification crisis, I think back in the 1800s, is a perfect example of this, right? So like the government or American society didn't really know whether states could necessarily nullify federal law, and this is just precedent before, and going into a crisis and then resolving and saying, well, the federal government it's like a constitutional law, the federal government will always come before any form of like state legislature, and so I think in this sense, right, like exposing like how weak precedent can be and then setting laws for it is something that Trump has done a lot of, and I think we may, depending on how this goes, I think we may come out a lot stronger because of it, and have a much more robust democratic system, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I am with you. I love the optimism. That's exactly how I think. It sucks to live through it, but thank God a reality TV star was the one that pushed the limits and not someone who actually could
True.
probably achieve some of these terrible things and take us to a point of no return. So yeah, I agree with you. I think I'm very optimistic about the future, and also I'm so impressed by how many young people are involved. You know, I don't know, how old are you?
17.
Okay. So you're 17 years old. You're on the internet talking politics. You're in Discords talking politics. You're spending your free time talking politics, and you can't even vote. Okay.
I think
And
I
you know what I was?
IRI. I think you just called me a loser in front of
No,
my.
no. I'm
No, I'm just
saying your
kidding.
interests are shared by many people your
Yeah.
age. Now, when I was 17 years old,
Hmm.
I was skateboarding every single day with my friends and smoking weed. Like I didn't even care about politics. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
I had no care in the world. And so the fact that people like yourself are involved in this right now and sharing what your concerns are and start like this is a lifelong interest for you, I guarantee it.
Yeah, I enjoy doing this. It's actually funny story. I'm trying to get into contact with one of. There's a state representative that's supposed to represent my district. Democrat that's running, and I'm trying to get in contact with him so I can support his campaign. And today, a campaign worker from the Republican who's running came up to my came up to my door, and I was like, nah, I'm probably gonna be working with the Democrats. And she
Mm.
tried pushing me on it, and we got into a conversation. I was like lining out all the things that I didn't like about the Republican Party. So I was like I didn't enjoy their immigration policy. Like I don't enjoy. I forgot. I said I didn't enjoy like foreign policy and their view at taxes. And she tried getting me into a conversation about foreign policy, and I was like, yeah, I don't enjoy this, and this. I brought up the Iran nuclear deal, and she's like, how do you feel about the Iran nuclear deal? And I go into a spiel for like 5 minutes talking about how this is a revolutionary deal. We were stopping like Iran from like doing this, and this. They wouldn't have had the ability to just spring up and like just make nuclear weapons. And she's like, okay, well, looks like you're set. And then she literally just leaves. And it was a funny story to me. Because like I don't know. I think I just enjoy this so much. I think it's super cool. Not gonna lie.
Well, and it's great when people like yourself are out there talking about it because you're the one who's going to get other young people excited about it, right? Like I can't go and make
Hope so.
TikToks and get young people interested. It's just going to look weird, right? They got to hear from your perspective, and so the fact that you're out there is great, and the fact that you're interested on a state level, even better. It's hard to get into state politics, right? Even harder to get involved in city politics, but there's a lot of drama. You know, there's a city council race where I'm at where people are accusing the one candidate of not even living in the district, and they staked out her house in another city, and then another guy got some Republican support. Like it's there's drama in all of this stuff if you can make it if you can find it and make it entertaining. But yeah, it's sad. It's sad that you have to get involved, right? I wish you could just be 17 and doing whatever the heck you want, and trying to fall in love and stuff, and thinking about college and all that. But unfortunately, we let you guys down, and like my people like myself weren't involved in politics to any degree. I voted every 4 years, every 2 years, and I was like, I've done my duty. You're welcome, youth. And but we've proven that's not enough, and so thankfully you guys are stepping up, and I think we're all better for it.
Yeah, I do know, especially on the internet. Wow, TikTok or whatever. Personally, I consume a lot of TikTok, but I actually don't I don't actually make any TikToks. But what I do realize is that like there are a lot of Zoomers on there that make political content, and it's crazy to see how many people like my age are like actually engaging and like in getting in like these debates. But the worst thing that I see is that like a lot of them have become like libertarians. All like the best, like all the most intelligent ones that I've seen have just like become like all like libertarians, engaged in like forms of like really weird economics. So even though I think people are getting engaged in the political process, sometimes I worry about some like the people that have engaged in this and their political beliefs. Because if you don't know, I was sucked up into 2016. I got sucked up in like all the internet politics, so like all the memes, all like feminists LOL, and I think a lot of people also got sucked up into that as too. And I think that even though a lot of Zoomers are getting involved in politics, which I enjoy personally, I think there's also a little bit of harm in that sense, because a lot of people, a lot of young people were really impressionable, and I've come to the conclusion that it seems like how we get involved with politics and where we politically align, especially as being younger people, is who gets to us first. I don't know how it is when you became politically engaged, but a lot of people my age have just gone to what's funniest or what's become the most initially appealing.
Yeah, this is it's an interesting subject for sure. I think I got involved in politics just based on what my parents believed because I didn't have TikTok when I was your age, and so it was really my exposure to politics was just kind of sitting around the dinner table and hearing what my parents thought. And thankfully, we roll the dice when it comes to our parents and our family, and thankfully, my parents were what I believe on the right
Mm-hmm.
side of history and were progressive and democratic. But I think you're right in the sense that we have an obligation as content creators, and you included.
Mm-hmm.
And what we say on the internet matters. And there are a lot of young people, especially on a platform like this or TikTok, and they are impressionable. And this is why I'm so critical of Hassan for doing ridiculous stuff like celebrating Donald Trump getting COVID-19
Mm-hmm.
because, you do this in front of tens of thousands of people and they say, oh, this guy's good looking, he's rich, he's successful, he's got this audience. So why in the world would I doubt that his response is the correct one? And you're shaping a whole generation. And some people might push back and say, well, it's just Hassan. He doesn't know anything and all that. But I think you're a perfect example of, look, there's a lot of people in their teens who watch whatever content gets to them first, and we have no way of controlling that. And then they respond accordingly, and they may get stuck in that loop for years, maybe even life. I don't know. How did you get out of that loop?
I always think this is actually a really interesting story, but basically so I had to give like a full story, I guess you could say. So it was after 2016. Internet was really cool. I loved watching YouTube. I think all people love to watch YouTube at this point. But there was like the feminist cringe compilations, all that stuff, and then it just led me further down to people like Ben Shapiro, Steven Crowder, and like all of like the right wing ideologues, right? And the more that I grew, I kind of separated myself away from a lot of the social conservatism, because the more people that I met, like I went to high school, and a lot of the people that like these like Steven Crowder and like Ben Shapiro would like make fun of or like mock were real people that I knew. And
Mm.
it became like a much more, it was like it was a thing where I was like, wait, like this isn't reality anymore. And I think that's something that a lot of people on just on the internet in general don't actually realize, is that like these are real people, and engaging with these people is super valuable. So then I became like a right leaning libertarian. God, my those days were really cringe. But I had a teacher who was like a sock them,
Mm.
and I got into a conversation with him one time. It was like a 3 hour conversation. He kind of let me skip a test for that reason, not gonna lie. But we got into this really cool conversation, and he really opened up my eyes to like secular talk. I watched a little bit of secular talk, and I was like left leaning. But the person that really like pushed me out of that, like that some of those conservatives' beliefs, were like watching those Destiny debates. And I know Destiny personally doesn't like to think that his content has made like a really big difference, but it made a massive difference to me. His content kind of changed like the rest of my life to a certain extent, right? Like I got involved in online politics with his community. I started watching and like engaging in a lot of these things, and that's kind of what pulled me out. The internet got me in, and then the internet kind of also helped pull me out and become a better person, I guess you could say.
Wow. That's actually pretty moving, not gonna lie. I mean, I guess my first point would be exposure seems to be what changed your mind. You actually interacted with people and you met different types of people, and like you mentioned the SocDem teacher, and that some of these people that those videos Crowder was making were making fun of, and Ben Shapiro, you actually knew some of these people, so that exposure to more a variety of people led you to be able to come to some logical conclusions. But imagine if you just grow up in some small town or something like that, or a rural area, and everybody thinks like you and Steven Crowder, right? You're screwed. So we really are a result of our environment and the people raising us and such. So you got lucky with that.
Did get very lucky.
And yeah, I mean, it really is a roll of the dice, because I'm sure there's people your age that were doing that cringe compilation stuff back then and are still doing it now, just because they don't have that exposure, right? And to think that Destiny had such a big impact on you, this is why I really wag my finger at people that celebrate also Destiny's demise, also with
Mm-hmm.
losing his check mark in about 6 days or whatever. And it is a huge loss for our platform and for the internet as a whole, for Destiny to lose his biggest platform, Twitch. I think he'll be even bigger on YouTube and hopefully reach even more people. But people need to hear stories like yours, because, when you stream for 10, 12 hours and you get in arguments with people and you're upset about something one day, you may say something that you regret. Like, I'm sure he regrets saying what he did that led to this current event with the mowing down rioters or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the good that he's done, I mean, just you as an example, like, I think that trumps any sort of damage done by saying one line on the internet that people are so taken aback by. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And I think people like us have to push back on that and say, you've got to take someone's full work, the full volume of work, when considering removing their voice from a platform.
Yeah, I think, and it's interesting because I've also realized that like a lot of the people, I think there was this someone said this, but it was like Destiny helped change Twitch politics, or like Twitch to become more of a left leaning platform, or a lot of the internet, and now it's gotten too left for him, or like it's overtaken him, and it's crazy to think that like a lot of the people that he's helped like get out of these really harmful beliefs are the same people who are like I guess you could say criticizing them for it. And I think you're right to like look at a full person's body of work. Personally, yeah, like now that I think about it, he's had a massive effect on his life, on my life. And if like this is why I don't even necessarily, I don't even know if I say if I got to talk to him, because like these online creators, right, are play a really big effect, right? So like I know a lot of people, we spend a lot of time on the internet, right? Especially during coronavirus. Some of us spend like 4 to 5 hours on YouTube, or just like on Facebook or things like that. And I think a lot of people underestimate what an online creator can do, especially when people are so malleable. Holy crap. I think you said this like right. If I wasn't in the experiences that I had, I would be nowhere near the person that I am today. I don't inherently think that I'm special in any way. I just think that I had the luxury of being in a really good community that just pushed me towards being the person that I am today.
Yeah, it's a huge success story, and I really look at a lot of these hardcore right people as victims,
Mm-hmm.
victims of their circumstances, victims of going down the wrong rabbit hole, and the power of YouTube and the algorithms just pushes you further and further. It could be a right wing political ideology, or it could be falling in love with Quick, and all you do is drink strawberry Quick and you become obsessed with it or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's just the power of the internet to push you towards some things. And if you were to never drink some Ovaltine, you would never know that, hey man, Ovaltine's all right. So yeah, I think it's important that we have a variety of voices, even if we disagree with them. This is why I stand up for people like Lecture Fan. Boy,
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't disagree with him more on his political views, and I let him know that in a nice way. But I'm able to compartmentalize the person from the political views, which we all should, and realize we're all humans, we're all
Mm-hmm.
Americans or whatever. And we should be exchanging our views. And this is why I've had such a big problem with the panels, which I've talked to you about.
Mm-hmm.
And because I think it's turned more into a challenge to see who I can get yelling at each other more to create more drama, instead of let's see if we can exchange some ideas, right? And it's just become a bit of a spectacle, and kind of represents Twitch politics at this point. So these turned into my bigger concerns, because if you're a young, impressionable person just getting into politics and you get onto Twitch politics and all you see are people punching each other in the face on a panel, well, maybe that's how you engage in politics in the real world and for the rest of your life.
Yeah, I that's a perfect point, because I think a lot of people, a lot of new creators, will think that like the ways that like, yeah, like arguing and yelling at each other is how politics is, right? Like, this
Yeah.
is how we push our political gains. Like, this is content. And I think people don't realize that, like, we're all content creators, right? We
Hmm.
don't want to fail. We want to make marketable content. And a lot of times it's content or your ideals and your principles. And I think the harmful aspect of this is that people will really start to think that, like, this is politics, this is how you engage in politics, and this is how you engage with people in the real world. And it worries me a lot. And I think you bring that up perfectly, especially on these panels. My God, sometimes on the panels it's really combativeness, and it's not even like a real like, it's not the real marketplace of ideas. I get to say it. I guess you could say it
I,
that way.
I would say it's rarely a marketplace of ideas.
Hmm.
It's more of who can be more entertaining. And speaking to your point of being an influencer, no matter how small you are or how early on you are in your career, there are people that listen to you. You know, I go into people streams that have 10 viewers, and there's people's names in there that are first badge on them and mods that I never seen in my life. And these people are so happy with this stream that that's it. It influences their life. And you know, the truth of the matter is most people who watch Twitch streams don't chat. They just sit there
Hmm.
and they watch and they hang out. They lurk. Lurkers make up like 80% of the
Hmm.
platform. It's a very small percentage of people that actually chat. And so those people, if you ask them why do you never chat, most of them will say, "Well, I don't want to sound dumb in the politics space, or I don't think I could add anything," right? So these are very impressionable people that have found something in you that they like and they enjoy. And someone brought up a great point to me the other day. I think it was Supreme from the Battle
Hmm.
Lounge, or now he goes, "My Wicked Supreme." He said, "Look, you've got right now, according to my counter, 36 people in here. That's a full classroom. Imagine you're a teacher standing in front of a classroom right now. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Like
I was there.
it's
Yeah.
okay, yeah, you heard it. So
Hmm.
it's no joke, you know, like you are influential and you have a lot of responsibility, and I wish people just took it more seriously like you do.
Yeah, even I've come to struggle with this. Initially, when I started streaming, I was having this conversation actually before. But like, we should be responsible with our content, especially when it comes to, like, being on the left on Twitch. Is that there are some really bad figures that'll come into your chat and will be like, "Hey, I'm just memeing," and say all this like weird propaganda stuff. And as a small content creator, a lot of these people don't realize that, like, they will fill their communities with people who hold like beliefs that are harmful, right? So when I started out, there were some people who like supported Stalin in my chat, and I thought they were joking, right? And because like it's all memes and everything and it's all fun, but like curating and making sure that like your community isn't supporting these things is something that's really important that a lot of people aren't doing a good job of, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I don't want to pick on Hassan, but I think he's quite a toxic example because his chat just wilds out and he reacts to the negative comments, right? Instead
Mhm.
of encouraging a positive thing or here or there. And I think people really take that stuff to heart. A lot of people would say, "Well, it's just the internet, who cares?" But as you pointed out, this is the pandemic. This is reality now, right? The pandemic, like the internet is real life. Like we don't go interact with each other. We're walking around with masks on our face, can't even see each other's expressions, trying to stay 6 feet from each other, or you get these hands. And so this is real life. This is reality, and we can't treat it anymore like, "Oh, it's just the internet. Who cares? You can say anything," and you know, people go do their research and stuff. It's just not true.
Yeah, I found that out a lot of reasons. Like, people underestimate the effect that they have. And yes, I was watching when Supreme said that, and I think it was like his wife who told him that, and I was like, that's probably the best way to put this. Like, we have classes of people, right? Like, we have the effect of, I guess you could say, like a teacher, right? And we all know, I think this is a really common way of phrasing this, but everyone has like an influential teacher in their life, right? Like, we can all think back to our favorite teacher or someone that taught us a lot. For like me, it was like my sock dem teacher. But I think people underestimate like what their communities can do, and I think you said this to me a couple of times, but like, grow with your community. You know what I mean? Like, make sure that it's worth it, right? Not having people who just lurk, like who aren't. How do I say this? Make sure that when you grow a community that you like, I don't want to say control, but you grow like, oh, this is such a weird way to put it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you want to cultivate people
Yes.
that think like you,
Mm-hmm.
or that the kind of community you want. And it takes a lot longer to do it on your own, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that there's this addiction to the numbers on Twitch, which I didn't have the luxury of when I was starting out. My first year, we struggled to get over 30, 40 viewers, maybe 50, because the community just didn't exist and roundtables didn't exist, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And so nobody had a way to get a lot of viewers. And so we kind of just had what we had, and we kept cultivating that. And it's so much more rewarding to just find out who you are and express yourself and build a community around your beliefs and to grow, like you say, grow with your community, right? You're learning too. Like you
Mm-hmm.
don't know everything, you know, and I don't either. And so, and admitting that you don't know everything. And so I just wish there was more of a focus on that sort of solo journey for politics streamers. And that's why I've tried to been supportive of you, because you seem inclined to go down that road. So I would ask you if you don't mind,
Mm-hmm.
what is your goal with streaming? What do you hope to get out of all this?
I've thought about this a lot, and it's something it's like made a big difference to me. So there was, man, this can be really hard, especially because I want to cultivate a community that I enjoy engaging with, right? Like in my chat right now, I think a lot of people who chat, like if you guys don't know this, I know almost every one of your names, right? Like if you've chatted in my chat box at all, I know, like I remember and I know. But there comes a struggle right now, right? Where like everyone wants to get really big, everyone's addicted to numbers, and personally, I'm guilty of this as well. Like, I
Sure.
mean, I still do this. Like, I want to see my channel grow. Like, I want to get the viewers up. You know what I mean? Uh, and it's hard for a lot of people, and it's pushed them in like really weird paths, right? So it's like either having a panel or I was so guilty of this. I wanted to do stuff with the politics server, and it gave me a boost for a little bit. But then after,
Mm,
people don't come for you; they came initially just for the event. And
mm.
so personally, I think I wanna kind of create a stream that I'm enjoyed of. I want to grow, but I also want to create a community and stream that's like um that's it's pushing forward learning. Personally, I love to learn about topics. So as like this summer, I got to learn about a lot just preparing for streams, right? So like philosophy, economics, political structure, and I just love to learn. And I think I've said this on stream a couple of times, but like I want to make sure that my community grows with me, and that's something that I think I'm gonna prioritize from now on. Is that like I don't want to have a community that's only coming as an event for like these one-time events. I want to come to a community that I know a lot of the people in there, and I know that they're gaining something from it. I don't want to just be some side time event. I don't want it to just to be some like entertainment cow. I want people to take away something from my stream.
Yeah, I like that. My concern is that if you do host a panel, your numbers will double, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody knows, okay, I'll get 50, 60 people in here if I host a panel. I see Endernax is in your chat. You could bring Endernax on, and you bring on all these different people with different thoughts, and you know, people will come and show up for it. And then it's deflating to just go back to your own stream and you go back down to 30, 40, right? And you're like, shit, man, this is tough. Like a lot of people can't handle the emotional ups and downs of seeing the numbers drop, and so then they just start coming up with more ways to get those panels and such. And I just, again, I think it's so much more rewarding to find your voice, right? I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know what I would do what I do now 2 years later with my stream. I didn't start out with the idea of, oh, this is what my stream's going to be and this is where I'm going. I just turned on the stream and said, let's talk politics and see if I can bump shoulders with some people I disagree with and see if I can attract some people who want to talk politics on the level I'm at, you know?
Yeah. I've like, and that's something that I've come to the realization of. Like, you bring it, you didn't know. And I
Hmm.
think that's something I may have a little bit of an advantage is I think I have some idea of what I want to do. So, and what I want to do with this stream, and as of recent, that's something that I'm trying to work on, right? So, like on my Discord, as of recent, I'm trying to put in work and like make sure it's a good place for people to engage and learn. And that can take a lot more work, like building a solid community than just like hosting panels. But I think it is more rewarding, you know, like I like coming back to a community that you know is going to gain something, not just an event. And you meant it took you a while to do that, and I think I would say that you've created a community that's pretty cool. Your viewers seem to learn a lot. Your streams are super educational rather than like just spectacle.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm very happy with where I've come, and it's just always interesting to see what everybody else is up to, and you kind of have to put blinders on, honestly, and do your own thing because it can be very
Thanks for the
distracting
follow.
when you see other people
Some like, I
growing faster
appreciate it.
than you or someone started before you,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's very competitive. Um, but yeah, you do have to have that base that you build on, you know, because I tell you, for me, when I was young, I had instant success as an actor. This is what I did for 20 years. I was an
Whoa, I
actor.
didn't know that. That's cool.
Yeah. And I got this music video like my sixth, no, it was my 11th audition.
Hmm.
It was 6 months into my acting career, and instantly I was famous. It's this music video called Pretty Fly for a White Guy. I don't know if you've ever even heard of it.
Wait a minute. Isn't that the? Is that the Weird Al Yankovic video? Is it that one?
He made a parody of that video.
Oh. Oh man. Oh wow.
Yeah. So it was a video that was like one of the biggest music videos of all time. And it happened right when my career started. I was 18 years old,
Hmm.
I was around your age. And all of a sudden, I thought I was God's gift to the world and that I'm going to be on Saturday Night Live and I'm going to have this career and stuff. And it was kind of like all of a sudden you got 1,000 people in your stream watching you. And
Hmm.
now you think that you're just perfect and you got it made. But the problem was I couldn't make a career out of it because I
Hmm.
didn't have the base to build on. I didn't have the experience, right? I didn't have the skills. I kind of just got lucky. And that's why I think it's the lesson learned for me was it's better for things to happen slowly, and like
Hmm.
it sucks and it's hard to see that from a distance, especially when you're younger. But boy, if you can just slowly build your stream community, you can make something sustainable. I worry about the people that all of a sudden have 80 people in their stream a couple weeks in. They're probably in for a lot of trouble because it's going to be hard to maintain that.
Yeah, that's something that I've have to come to like to go with, right? Like I just want to slowly grow my community and make sure that it is sustainable. You know what I mean? For a lot of people, like oh, there was this what is it? Uh, a lot of streamers will get like this really big burst of support, right? And then it'll like wedge out, like it'll just wean out because you haven't created a sustainable place for them to grow, right? It's a lot of exposure really quickly, and you may have difficulty for it, right? Especially when and it's only motivating people worse when like you have all these streamers that have only started a couple months ago and have already hit partner, you know what I mean? And it may encourage individuals to go down this route that isn't sustainable for them. And I think I'm coming to the conclusion that hey, I'm okay with having like a lower viewer count as long as like I know that I'm steadily growing, my community is here for me, not other people, and then I can offer something to them, you know? So I have a question for
Yeah.
you now. Where do you see your content and your stream going?
Hmm. I'm really shifting a lot to YouTube, and not
Mhm.
just because Destiny's heading over there, but I like the freedom of YouTube. So right now, I don't feel like I can step away from 2 weeks from my stream.
Mhm.
And I think I would just be heavily damaged by that. But with YouTube, you can create videos for 2 weeks in advance and schedule them all
Mm.
to go out there. So there's that. Also, there's no algorithm on Twitch. So you are at the mercy of being at the top of the category or interacting with big streamers. Destiny's leaving. We don't have any other streamers in the politics space that have thousands of viewers that actually interact with anyone below them, right? Hassan
Mhm.
doesn't do that. That's his right. He wants to play games with Pokimane and all that. Then that's his right. He can do that. He doesn't raid anybody except porn stars and his best friend. And so we're left to fend for ourselves. Whereas Destiny was very supportive. He'd go on panels. Destiny would come on your channel if you had a reason for him. He doesn't care, right? He'd come with his 5,000 audience and he support tons of people like that,
Mhm.
and that's gone now. So I think people are going to be shocked. I had a Twitter tweet that
Oh,
said
I saw that. Yeah.
Twitch politics going to be a ghost town in 6 months because of Destiny's absence. People don't realize like what amount of community he brings in here, the support and help he gets to people. Like nobody can get over 100 viewers without Destiny. I mean, I don't think people realize that. And so what do I do in my future? Yeah, I mean, again, I think, I like streaming. I don't see myself streaming full time. I kind of want it to be supplemental because I
Mhm.
don't like the idea of trying to make a living off people tipping me and subbing to my channel, right? It just seems
Mhm.
kind of weird. And there are some streamers out there that just nonstop talk about subs for their stream, and I just don't like it. I don't think that that should be your main source of income. So I'm looking around at what else I can do. I mean, I would love to work at some sort of organization that actually influences politics, like C-SPAN or
Mhm.
maybe some mainstream media or something like that. I don't know, but what the future holds for me. But right now I'm doing a big push on YouTube to try to get my feet wet over there because I also think people don't come to Twitch, a gaming platform, to learn anything, let alone talk politics, right? Like
True.
I always talk about Twitch politics as like you go to the library to check out a book and there's a sign that says like we're having a rave downstairs and maybe maybe 1 out of 1,000 people's like, you know what, I could rave right now. Why not?
Yeah, I think that's a good way of putting it. Like personally, I don't see streaming as like being the end. I don't want it to be my career for like the next 30 years or something like that. I want to go to college. I'm thinking about probably going to some form of law school, and then I actually do want to do some form of politics in my future. You know, like whether that's actually getting engaged in the political process or like running for Congress one of these days. And I see
Yeah.
Twitch as like personally, I just enjoy the learning, right? So one thing one of my favorite things to do is debate prep, because it makes me it's like I'm required to be good if I don't want to embarrass myself, you know. So that's working on rhetoric, whether that's like learning about a topic. I always think that's super cool. But like you're right, like you said, like if you took 2 weeks off, you don't know if you'd be fine. And this happened to me actually. Like I stopped streaming for a week because of some of my school stuff, and my viewership cut in half when I came back. It was crazy.
Mm.
And it just kind of demonstrates like you have to be consistent, you have to always be improving. And now now I am thinking about going I should have been doing YouTube, but now I'm actually creating content for it and trying my best, you know. And it can be difficult, especially when you don't have like the platform, especially on here where there's no algorithm. But yeah, you're right. I didn't even think about it that way. Is that like if we were to take like a 2 weeks off, where would we be?
Yeah, I love the idea of you streaming while you're in college. I think you can
Yeah.
pay some bills. You could probably make, you might be able to make 500, 600, $700 a month or something with minimal effort just by streaming consistently and being around for a while. I think you develop a community. And I'll tell you what, I used to have this bits poll on my stream. I don't know if you ever saw it, but basically during the 2020 primary for the Democratic nominee, people could cheer for their favorite candidate.
Mm-hmm.
And if you cheered one bit for Bernie, it would add 1 point to him. And we had this monthly poll. And so I used that when I started that, it was June or April of
Mm-hmm.
2019. And I averaged about 40, 50 viewers. I made $2,300 off that thing the first month. So you don't
Wow.
need to have
Yeah.
thousands of viewers to make money on this platform. You just need a solid community that supports you,
Mm-hmm.
and you need some creativeness, a little creativity. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, I get that. I've yeah, especially when most people.
you're muted.
Oh, oh crap! I was typing something in chat because someone said, "Why'd you say running for Congress so low? Say that with pride." And I had to go Polar 2040 as a meme. But I think that's a good way of looking at it, right? Is that people will automatically associate viewership with like sustainability, right? But like
Mm-hmm.
you can make a career or like a alternative form of income while just writhing up your community. You know what I mean? It's like what is it? Like the 40-60 rule. It's like 40% of like your base will make up like 60% of your revenue. And I've realized that as well. Like there are people in my community who contribute a lot, and I'm super thankful for them. And without them, I don't know if I'd be where I am at the size where I am, you know? And I think that's a great way of putting it, that there, like, viewership does not automatically mean sustainability or revenue or how far you want to go. And I make this very clear with everyone in my chat that, like, all the revenue that I get on this stream just goes directly back into it, like the new mic, the new setup. And I think you bring up a great point about, like, there are things that you can do, even being a smaller creator, that can, like, generate a lot of money for you.
Heck yeah. Yeah, and there are people out there that want to support you.
Mm-hmm.
And there's people who watch you who don't have a lot of time to watch you, and they will support you if you put up a goal on your stream. So I always encourage streamers to always have some sort of goal, right? Even if
Mm-hmm.
it's crazy, like you said, 2 grand or whatever for a computer, throw it up there because there's somebody out there who loves your content but can't watch, but would love to throw you $100, you know?
Yeah. And I've talked with people like I used to have the dono goal up there, but what I realized is that it was really ugly. Like it looked really ugly, and I need to find a new dono goal. Uh, I mean, it was like the really basic like gray bar, and then I just go directly to that. But you're right. Like people aren't here. I would say people aren't. I don't know if people are gonna get dissuaded by your donation goal. They're here for you, you know, like and making sure that you provide them with the content that they enjoy and they feel comfortable. I think that's what matters.
Dude, people, like I said, there's different types of people in your community.
Mm-hmm.
And so the donation goal isn't for everybody, right? Like there's people who are chatters who never sub, can't donate, nothing, right? They
Mm-hmm.
just kind of getting by in life and maybe some hard times, but they're supporting you by chatting, right? But then there's some people who can never be here because you stream at a weird time, but they love your stream and they want to support you. So they don't know that you have a goal if you don't put it up on the screen.
True. True.
And people love seeing things they can interact with on the stream too. So the donation bar going up and the numbers going up and you interacting with it, they love it. So especially at your point where
Mm-hmm.
you're investing all the money into the stream, they can see the upgrades. Look, you got the new mic, you got the new angles, you got them flashy lights behind you now. This stream is starting to glow up,
Mm-hmm.
So they can see the interaction and how they're helping and they love it.
Yeah, I think people do really enjoy that, honestly. And I think we only think about this to a certain extent, that like what we can give to the viewers, or not like I think the viewers will also gain something. Like forming a community, and this is just like all of like online, I think politics are all online communities, is that I think people oh crap. People really enjoy being a part of something, right? And I think that's something that, like, we all see this with, like, I think I mentioned this earlier, but like people love to have friends. People love to like be a part of groups that identify with them. And I think as streamers, when we create these kind of communities, the viewers also like to enjoy and they like to engage. You know what I mean? Like if they contribute, I think they love to see like the upgrades, or I think they love to like make the person that they're watching and that they enjoy so much go further. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't take into account, is that like I think viewers actually do enjoy sometimes giving and like creating something that's better for them as well.
Yeah, some of the best moments in my stream are
Mm-hmm.
where people are just adding each other the whole time and nobody's talking to me. I'm like, all right, well, I'll just talk to myself, I guess. You guys are having fun. And I just think that's such a beautiful thing
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of streamers make the stream all about them and they don't realize that people are actually here hanging out with their friends, and it is community. And this is why it's so important to have a schedule if you can. And if
Mm-hmm.
you can't, I understand. I try to encourage people be the same time 2-3 times a week, or let people know um, on Monday what your schedule is going to be that week or
Yeah.
whatever, because, it's bigger than you, right? Like people do have their homies they want to come hang out with and talk about the news with each other especially as you grow, you'll see it more and more.
Yeah, I like you brought up a great point. Like I think people like to get into chat just to talk with the other chatters, like and I do that too. Like I'll pop into people that I know's chat and I'll just like say what's up to everyone in there and then just start a convo. And I never thought about it that way. Like you want to stay like I guess you could say consistent so that people can talk to their other friends in chat. And like
Yep.
that's why personally I'm starting to put a schedule up, right? Like prepared content's also really important for going. At least that's what I've heard. And like having like a schedule up of like, hey, when things are gonna happen makes it really cool for the viewers as well. Like they get to see their other like fellow chatters. They can finally be together once again.
Absolutely. And people fit it into their schedule. They start
Mm-hmm.
scheduling around you. So man, I love hanging out with Polar and his community. So I'm gonna make sure I'm not working at that time or whatever. So it's just like a TV show. People know what time it starts, and I've been doing 4 p.m. Pacific for 2 years for the days that I stream.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of also why, I like YouTube. I can just schedule a video and put it out. The only other thing I would say about your donation goal is one thing people don't do is explain to their community why they have the goal. What do you want to achieve with that computer, And I'm not putting you on the spot, but it's
Mm-hmm.
something I would just kind of find your pitch for, explain it to the
Sure.
community, right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I want my computer, and I heard you saying it a little earlier where you share a computer with your family, and so you say, look, I've got these ideas. These are things I want to
Mm-hmm.
do, and this is what I would do with that new computer.
Yeah, I think I'll say it to Chad and everyone. So yeah, what I want to do with my new computer is one, my stream. Most people don't realize this, is like sometimes I have to cut streams because my computer can't handle the I guess the power that it takes to, for example, to be on panels. If you guys realize, there's a reason why I don't stream when I'm on panels and I have to always raid other people, is because my computer can't handle it. So one, it'd probably be so that I could have a more consistent stream, right, and like extend the length of my streams. But I also want to create really good YouTube content, right? So I want to be able to like make really cool edits and render videos, and I can't do that with my computer right now. And so I think there was this really good quote that that talks about how if you're gonna make your community donate to something, it's really valuable to make sure that they get something out of it. And I think all the people in my community would be able to see cooler overlays. I think cooler YouTube videos, like more I guess cooler videos, cooler streams, and I guess a better, more consistent stream. I guess you could say this. So that's what that would go to. Is making sure that I can have a better stream for the people that watch it.
Heck yeah. Well, there you go. And I think you'll achieve this goal faster than you think.
Oh, first you upgrade the PC. Oh my God, Riley just rated. That's awesome. Then you deal with the shitty ISP. Thank you, Riley. Everyone, let's. IRI, do you know who Riley Grace Roshong is?
I know the name, but I don't know. I don't know what they do.
Oh, Riley is this really cool YouTube slash. I have to make sure that I spell the names right. This always does it. That should work, right? Yes. So basically, Riley's this really cool streamer for everyone in chat who does debates. She does really cool content. She's a law student. She also like, I think her logo is like her phrase is that she's defending civil rights on like a empirical basis. And so she was on the Hippie Dippy podcast yesterday. She killed it. Okay, it was amazing, and I'd love to talk to her another time. Thank you, Riley. But yeah, I think Ira, you make like a really good point talking about how like when your community feels engaged in the things that you do, or like the things that you want, they're more likely to like help you get those things that you want. You know?
Yeah, you see people make a mistake of putting up a goal like October rent, and it's like, that's not really what people want to help with. You know what I'm saying?
I get that. Yeah, and that's
They wanna help.
something. Oh, sorry.
I was say they want to help get you further and improve the community as a whole.
I think that's what matters. Yeah. Hey, we're here from Riley. Yeah, what's up, Riley Raiders? But I think that's what matters too. Is that something that I'm always trying to push forward? Is that I truly do care about my community, not because like they may like financially donate or like financially help out, right? But I care about my community because personally, I feel like I've created my own parasocial like relationship. You know what I mean? Like I know chatters in here. Like I consistently talk to in my Discord. I consistently like feel as if they're like people that I kind of know as well. You know what I mean? And I want to make things better for them, not just because it's gonna help me out in the long term, but I just want to create good content for you guys as well.
Well, I go even further with mine. I say I'm friends with my people in my community. Some more than others, right? Some of them are like, the guy who says a weird joke once in a while from the back of the room. But others I talk to in DMs, and some of them become mods and such. But in the end, I think we're friends with all these people to some degree, and that was a big lesson for me to learn going from viewer to streamer, because I was a viewer for 5 years on the platform before I started streaming. And I never looked at this as like, I'm not putting my guard down. I'm not becoming friends with anybody. Like, this isn't real life. And I think once you drop that, it's a little easier for you because the internet's been a part of your life ever since the beginning. So, but I think the way you're approaching it is healthy, and it's great to hear.
Oh yeah. I hope so. You know what I mean? Like I hope what I'm doing has an effect, and I think it does. But I personally want to see this stream grow in a place where like, I always keep bringing up these quotes, but like, there's this really good saying that talks about be the person who you needed when you were younger, and that's the person that I want to become. I want to make sure that like, the people who had to go through like the same right-wing cringe and all that stuff that's like ruined people's lives, I want to make sure that other people don't have to go through the experience that I did. You know what I mean? And so that's kind of where I want to see my content. I want to make sure that like not only am I growing, but my community is, and they don't have to go through all the bullshit that I'm going to. I don't want them to go through like all of like all the harassment, right? Like I had like personally I said some really mean stuff to other people, and that was all had to do with the communities that I was engaged with, and I want to make sure that no one else has to go through what I have to.
Yeah, I think the more people know about you and your history, the closer they are to you. And so, for example, I didn't know anything about what you went through in 2016. And, if I scroll down on your panels, I don't see any mention of that. And I know it's a bit of a meme to say I was caught in the alt-right pipeline and I survived or whatever, but I do think people would like to hear more about your story and what you went through. And if there's a way to incorporate that more into your stream, I think that's a huge advantage for you.
Yeah, I never thought about that. I also, I need to. I was just thinking about doing that before stream, but I have to change my panels. But yeah, I think that kind of gets into like when you stream, like people want to know who you are. You know, I don't want people to like just come to the community just to hear like what I'm saying. I also want people to like know me, and I think that's important.
Course. Yeah, the
Yeah,
more open you can be and don't be giving out your social security and address, but the
true.
more you can share about your life, that really helps a lot of people because then they start to see themselves in your shoes
Hmm.
and learn from your experiences. And so it's really powerful to share as much as you can. Like, my parents went through this, or, I lived here, I lived there, or I'm looking to do this in the future. That really starts to create a bond with people, and then your community just goes from there or goes up from there. It's a nice experience if you can do it.
Yeah, I never thought about that because personally, I do have like a lot of experiences that I've like never thought about, you know, and like both of my parents are immigrants, right?
Mm.
My mom passed when I was younger. It's so I've been raised by like a single father for like the majority of my life, and I never thought about sharing like some of these personal experiences in my community who may have gone through the same things as I do, and like maybe being like a source. I don't know, like some form of like rallying point, I guess is a weird way to put it, but like just being open and making people feel more comfortable, because I think that's what a lot of people need. Is that I think a lot of people feel really uncomfortable these days, like they may not have the friends that they need in real life, or they may not feel the connections in real life. I think that's one thing that's positive on that's one thing that's positive on the internet, you know what I mean, is that we can establish these things.
Yeah. Otherwise, if you don't do that, people are going to fill in the gaps for you, and they'll be
Mm-hmm.
like, "Well, Polar's got this perfect life, and he's rich, and he's got all these things." Like they're just going to fill in the gaps
Mm-hmm.
for you, right? But if you share your personal stuff, then they will come for the ride. I give you a quick example. The first year of my stream, I didn't share my dog at all. I had this special
Mm-hmm.
needs dog who took up half my time, giving him pills every morning and shots and driving him to 4 different dog specialists and stuff. And he's a big part of my life. And I didn't share him at all because I didn't want people to get attached to him. I didn't want to have to
Mm-hmm.
tell people one day he's going to pass. And then after a while, I just kind of put my guard down and started bringing him on the stream more and more. And people understood what I was going through. You know what I mean? People
Yeah.
started to understand what my struggle was, and then they listened to me more, and there was a bigger connection. It was just a more rewarding experience for me and everybody else, and that's why it was. I'm glad I did it eventually.
Yeah, I was sorry to hear about that, man. Loss is something that's very difficult for a lot of individuals, especially when like it's someone that's become so close to your life. And like you're right, like it takes a lot of courage to share these things. So, I hope I hope that's going okay with you. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I appreciate it. It's been a couple weeks now, and I've never been through that, but the all the messages I got and hearing how many other people have gone through that was super helpful. But if I never shared that,
Hmm.
then I wouldn't. I actually feel more human for going through that experience and for just bonding with other people on it, right? Like I had a lot of great conversations with people, and so now people know your personal story about your loss, and I'm sure that they can open up about their lives, and it just creates a better bond. It just makes the human experience better, and including your time on here.
Yeah, that is a really great way of putting it. Is that like it can be it's like streaming and like actually telling your community about some of the personal things that are going on in your life can make you feel a lot better, or like help you get over those personal things, right? So like you may have a whole community of people now, or a sect of your community that's gone through what you have, and they can give you all the advice that you need, or they can just give you the support. And I never thought about it that way. That's like I was always like not talking about a lot like a lot of the experiences that I had, but I think that's an important thing, right? Like learning who I am so that people are watching me, and if I go through some things that are in my personal life, I don't want to have to shelter that off from people who make such a large difference in my life.
Yeah, it's a balance, right? I mean, you're also a minor, so you have to be careful to some degree. But
Yeah.
I think I tell you, the grieving process for me
Mhm.
with my dog was much easier because of my community, and I'll always be thankful for that. And if I had kept it to myself and not told anybody, and they didn't know about him, I would have struggled. It would have been a lot more difficult.
Yeah, I know. That is like a really great way of putting it. Is that like now you have like a whole support community. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Rather than like just the people that may have only known about your personal issues. And I think that's like a great way to look at streaming in general. And I think this kind of ties into what we were talking about earlier. Is that like by having like this when you have like these panels or these things that aren't really personal, you aren't necessarily forming a community. It's like you're just forming events that like tie one thing to another. And I want to form a community. I think people like to have friends on the internet. I think they like to have connections, and they want to make sure that the connections that they have are special. And I think the communities and the people and the streamers that do that the best are the ones that are the most successful. And I think that's kind of where I want to go with my community. That's why I try to push my Discord really hard, and I want people to engage in there, because I want to make them feel like they have a place. I want to make them feel as if they have friends on the internet, and if their life in real life isn't going that well, you know what I mean? For a lot of us, it isn't right now. That they have a place to go to, that people may share their experiences that they may not share in their real life.
Yeah, man, and it comes down to a lucky roll of the dice, and it sounds like your dad is a pretty cool dude because you came out pretty well, and it's important that you share that gift with other people, because a lot of people, like, we don't get to pick our parents, you know what I
True.
mean, or our support systems,
Mhm.
and it's great to hear how it worked out, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Nothing's perfect. I'm sure you got your complaints, but I think you came out all right.
Thanks. Yeah, and like I didn't actually expect my dad to be too supportive of me streaming, but like he's been super helpful. I mean, like as of recent, he's helping me figure out like what are my business goals with this, and like how far do I want to go. And like I used to have issues with him when I was younger, but that was because I was a really annoying kid, to be honest, and I was really annoying, like being 13 or 14. And so it's been a really great way for me to like get closer, you know what I mean? Is that like he just wants to see me grow, and he's helped me out. And I think that's kind of shaped who I am today. Is I only want to see the people in my community that I genuinely do care about grow as well. You're right, we don't get to choose our support systems, so I think any support system that we have that supports us is like that actually supports us is amazing and like super valuable, and I don't want to let that go.
Yeah, that's great to hear about the business stuff because being a streamer is running a business,
Hmm.
and you've got to do the marketing, the financing, the production. You're running a whole business, a wonderful experience going into the real world because one day you'll run a big business or something. And be like, this is easy. I got the experience when I was younger, so and I think you'll see like how far advanced you are over your
Hmm.
your colleagues once you get into college, especially with public speaking. That's the other really great thing about
Yeah.
streaming. I know you wanted to talk about the election and stuff, so I'm sorry to take it on
Nah,
this
it's cool. I
tangent.
actually enjoy this convo. I think people are enjoying it as well. I'm okay with like just getting to talk with people. I enjoy it as well.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
But I always think another advantage of becoming a streamer is getting comfortable with yourself in your own skin. You're on camera. We don't usually look at ourselves for hours on end, right?
Hmm.
Unless you're some sort of narcissist on Snapchat or something. But most people kind of get a glimpse of themselves in the mirror in the morning when they're getting ready, and then they're not always happy with what they see. And then we never hear our voice either, right? And we never really hear how we explain things. And every time we do, we think we sound stupid and we're dumber than we think we are. But when you stream, you go for hours and hours and you get affirmation, you get positive feedback. You realize, man, I'm not as bad looking as I thought. Hey, my voice doesn't sound as weird as I thought it did. And you get more comfortable in your
Hmm.
own skin. And I think that's such a gift. That's why I try to encourage other people to try streaming as well, because I know it had that impact on me.
Man, that is such a good. Now, oh my god. Before streaming, I don't think people know this, but I hated like even looking at myself. Like I never enjoyed like looking at myself on a camera, and as like it's made me feel so much more confident. Not in only my speaking skills and how I can speak to but like others, but like looking at myself, especially in a time where a lot of people don't feel confident in what they look like. This has helped me tremendously because now I can come onto a community where like they're used to like seeing people as who they are, and it's not weird, and it's just helped me build like a line of complete confidence. And without streaming, I don't think I'd be as confident as I am today. And before I used to have major issues with the way that I looked. I hate looking at myself in like the mirrors or a camera, and this has helped me build so much confidence. And I thank everyone for I just thank streaming for helping me do that. Like I feel so much more confident in who I am, the way that I speak, the way that I engage with others, and it's been such a benefit to me. And I already know that it's going to be something that like completely helps me grow as a person in the future, and just gives me, gives me a lot of resources and skills that other people may not have.
Oh, for sure. When it comes to like public speaking, you're
Hmm.
going to have to stand up in front of that college class of 150, right? This pandemic's not going to go forever. You will be back in classrooms. And you're going to say, this is no problem. I do a stream in front of 100 people 3 times a week, you know? So this is easy. So you'll see that how much you've grown once you start getting into that college environment. And people sit there sweating and before they even raise their hand, and you'll be like, dude, what's going on? Why are you nervous, man? This is easy.
Yeah, that actually happened to me. Like, I'm like, I work for like a membership co-op for like an internship for my school, and like we have public speaking programs, and it was crazy to think that like I literally just go up on there, and I'm not really nervous anymore. Like maybe the
Mm,
content, sure, but like I don't really, it doesn't really matter to me how like people think about the speech because of the confidence that I've gained through here. And I think that's one thing is even if I don't stream forever, the experience of streaming has like probably changed me for the rest of my life. Oh man.
absolutely. No, these skills aren't going anywhere, right? There used to be this thing called Toastmasters. I don't know if it even
I
exists.
my the funny story, I think I was supposed to be in Toastmasters or I'm going through like the Toastmasters like or Speakers League or something like that. But yeah, go on. That's so funny.
Well, I don't know if your dad has a background running his
Mhm.
own business and stuff,
He
but
does, yeah.
old school guys like me and him, we used to have to go to Toastmasters and give pretend speeches to get any public speaking time in front of an audience, right? And you go through the whole process, and you come off stage and you shake hands and thank you for introducing me, and you give your speech, and you have to do research beforehand and stuff. So this is like the Zoomer version of Toastmasters right here, doing your own stream, and it's just a valuable public speaking skills are huge. Being able to express yourself in a concise, lucid way, being able to hold the attention of people for an hour or two. You can see your average view time. These are very, very valuable skills, no matter what field you go into in life.
Yeah. I think and something that I think I've had the luxury of is my dad, for example, doesn't see this as like this like a video game. You know, like people like like I guess people make fun of like the video game professional careers, but I'm happy to like be with a support system that like will just push me farther. You know, and like realize that there are things that I can gain. Um, and especially with streaming, it's been something that like I think I've had negatives obviously with it. Like it can be kind of hard. I don't know if you've gone through this, but even as someone as small as I am, it can be kind of hard maintaining like a public life and like a private life. You know what I mean? Like making sure that you keep your personal relationships well and like not like well and tight. You know what I mean? Making sure that you're consistently communicating versus streaming, and that's something that I think I've had to adapt to. Is that something that's been an issue with you as well, like making sure that your private relationships are also as good as your, I guess, public ones?
Yeah, it's actually very tough for me. Yeah, it's a strange thing. Number one, you are a public figure, so your
Mm-hmm.
actions are scrutinized. So I've been very reluctant to go out and do public events or meet up with friends or even do stuff because I don't want to give a bad example in the
Mm-hmm.
pandemic, right? So I was talking to some girl
Bruh.
recently, and I said, yeah, I
Came
actually
over
just
from
went
our
out.
GR.
Oh, you
You
got a
are
donation?
amazing
Hell
and
yeah.
Oh
killed
my god!
yesterday.
Thank
Such
you,
a calming presence. Thanks for being wholesome and smart.
thank you, Rhyme. Yeah, RGR is great. It was a lot of fun, and I mean, today's content wouldn't be what it is without IRI. I have to thank him for coming on in the first place. So I really appreciate the dono. That's gonna go directly back into the new streaming PC, so I can do some really cool stuff with the stream.
Heck yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think as you get bigger, you
Mm-hmm.
do become a public figure, and you have to. I think the biggest change for me is just realizing my actions are scrutinized, and so you have to lead by example. And I wish other content creators did this. It kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier,
Mm-hmm.
but I think it does limit you a little bit. And I've been to two Twitch cons, and I've had people come up to me at both of them. Some very happy, some very unhappy, and I do worry about stuff like that. Um, but it's a new thing being live streamers,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a whole new world when it comes to like, are we public figures? Are we celebrities? I used to before the pandemic, I would go to a bunch of presidential rallies and stream as a member of the press, and people would come up to me, and it was always like, well, how do I deal with this? How do you engage with it? And The other thing is like personal relationships you mentioned. It's kind of weird to date somebody who has an audience of 150 people a couple times a week or something, like like do they want to be talked about
Yeah.
or not? Like how do you not talk about them? I don't know. It kind of does affect your life in every area.
Do you have any like tips for someone that may be growing? Because like the hard part for me is like making sure that I keep time, for my personal relationships, because I've also like come into like the phenomena where like I just want to spend a lot of time making sure that my stream is really awesome because I care about it and making all this good content, but I also have to make sure that I'm maintaining people the time with people that I care about.
Ooh, well, look, I'm a little older, and all my friends are married and miserable, waking up next to the same person every day. So, as far as friends and stuff,
Hmm.
you don't have as many as you get older. So I don't have to worry about that too much.
Hmm.
But if I was in your position, I would definitely want to balance between real life friends and the stream. I know it's exciting when you first start and you've got something cool where you've got an audience and people listening to you, but it's those real life relationships are very important as well, especially with your family.
Hmm.
And it is really important to keep going out there in the real world, and if at the very least it's about growing yourself, growing as a person, so that your perspective isn't so myopic with what's going on the internet. Because if you just lived on Twitch, you would think that leftists and socialism's taking over America. But in the reality, DSA has 60,000 members nationwide, and 60 million people voted for Hillary, so they're dropping the bucket, and they are to be ignored. So it's important that you get out there in the real world and continue to grow, especially at your age. And so I would really limit your time on here. And I know it sounds silly, like screen time, but I don't think there's a need to stream more than 3, 4 times a week
Hmm.
when you're first starting. That's all I've ever done. I've only streamed 4 days a week, and I'm doing just fine. So I don't even think you have to stream that much, especially if you're in school. That stuff's permanent, right?
Hmm.
Like you those grades are forever, and you really want to make sure you get the best experience out of it. So you definitely want to find balance with that stuff for sure. As
Yeah.
far as tips,
Hmm.
I think you just have to force yourself and realize that if I stream 3, 4 days a week, that's fine.
Hmm.
That's fine.
Yeah,
Don't got to be on here every day.
that's something that, oh wow, this is something that became an issue to me earlier. Was that like I realized that it's not my stream, right? It's people like coming up to me and asking me, "Hey, do you want to come up on here? Do you want to do this? Like, do you want to come on?" And that's what's taking up a lot of my time, right? Because I think having the 3 to 4 streams a week is pretty sustainable for myself. But like people wanting me to come on panels or when I have combos, that's I think where it's taking up a lot of my time. So I have to do a better job of at least like balancing that, like doing a good balancing act with that. That's what's taking up a lot of my time.
Yeah, and it's hard with the pandemic, right? We
Hmm.
can't really go do stuff, so
True.
it's hard. Um, but the hardest thing is that the role models are streaming 7 days a week. So
Mm.
Destiny and Hassan and even big gaming streamers like Co Carnage or whatever. These people all stream 7 days a week because they have thousands of viewers and they make a ton of money. But they're not in the same position as you. And so you're even better off if you can do like 3 days a week, 4 days a week, and then a day or two on YouTube content, working on Twitter. You
Hmm.
want to grow all these platforms at the same time because you don't want to be dependent on one platform either. You might get banned. I don't
True.
know. And one day you say something that people don't like. Or maybe someone
Yeah.
comes on your channel and says something that ends up, causing some problems, or who knows.
Hmm.
Uh, Maybe your account gets deleted by accident for a month, but you just want to be in more than one place. And so these people who are just streaming 7 days a week on Twitch are actually shooting themselves in the foot, because eventually something's going to happen and you're not going to have a presence anywhere else. Your community's not going to have anywhere else.
Yeah, that's why I'm trying to work really hard at least trying to grow my Discord, because I think Discord's a really good way of like getting information out to not only your community but like maintaining that whole community aspect. But I think YouTube is something that's been a little difficult for me because one, getting like all everything that you need, it can be a lot. I would say that like getting prepared YouTube content is more difficult, than I think just turning on the camera, just going to stream, and also that you have to do the editing, you have to do like intros and everything. You have to decide what you want to be on there. And for some people, it's like paying other individuals to do it, and some people will do it themselves. And there can be issues with both. But you're right, like diversifying and like growing your platforms is something that's really important that I personally have to spend a lot more time doing. And I think I'm gonna have to start minimizing my time and like compartmentalizing my time, doing like just stream stuff.
Yeah, there's a limit to how much you can grow on Twitch. So
Mm-hmm.
it hits a point where the ROI, the return on investment, it's not producing the results that you did get in the beginning. So you go on panels 3 days a week. Maybe in the beginning, yeah, I got some people from that, but as you keep doing it, the return on that
Mm.
time investment's not going to be the same. Everybody knows you. They know where you stream. You know what I mean? So you really have to start just trying to make this into something sustainable. And I agree with you. Each platform's different. You got to approach them differently. And it's not always going to reveal itself to you what you should be doing right away,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it takes time. You got to try some things. Oh, this worked. Oh, this video actually did really well. That's interesting. I didn't know people cared what I thought about that. Or, oh, people actually like a 1 minute video from me on
Mm-hmm.
YouTube. Like, you never know.
True, yeah. And you just probably need to experiment a little bit. You know what I mean? We have different communities on different platforms. YouTube viewers probably don't like the same thing as Twitch viewers, but you could probably get them to intermingle, a little bit. And I think that's something Riley does, the person who rated me, is that she's kind of created this platform where she both streams on Twitch and YouTube, and her stream chat is a Discord, like a VC, like a text chat, right? And it's created
Huh.
this like intermingling of both communities, and it's grown all three simultaneously. And I think that's something that a lot of people who are like growing on politics haven't done, is like making sure that like when they create YouTube content, that it's not just VODs. I don't think people just enjoy watching VODs. I think people do enjoy having creative content and things that are like unique, and that's something that if I when I start doing YouTube, and that's what I'm working on. Oh, thank you, the Shures, for gifting us up to Armored Vikram. I really appreciate that. Okay, that's going directly back into the stream. I think that's gonna go to I'll probably end up saving all of like the sub money to go to a DSLR. But yeah, thank you for that. I really appreciate that. Um, but yeah, like I think people really do enjoy specific creative content, and when I finally start actually posting videos, which I have to, I want to make content that's unique and people enjoy, rather than just like seeing like the same stream clips.
Yeah, and that's going to come from your personal experience,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's going to come from what makes you different. And it's not that your five head takes on things. It's more about what your background and your upbringing and what you want to pursue as goals, how that all comes into the stories that are going on, especially in the world of politics, right? We're all
Mm-hmm.
talking about the same thing. Donald Trump got COVID, for example. Okay. Well, people want to hear Polar's take on that. 17-year-old about to go to college, like talks, you know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
they want to hear your thoughts, right? So from your perspective, but the more they know about you, the more they understand that perspective. So, we're all unique in our own ways.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think like you kind of really put it out as that like a lot of people on the internet have the same opinions. You know what I mean? What
Mm-hmm.
makes their content different? It's themselves. Like, and that's what I think puts
Exactly.
people further, is that like who they are and the way that like they may interpret things, or the way that they just present their points due to their background. I think is what really separates people.
Exactly. And then you start to find your niche. So
Mm-hmm.
people come to me when something happens in the House or the Senate or some sort of 2020 race, they want to come to my space because not only do they know that people are there taking Congress seriously, but also it's a positive space where we're being like optimistic. So my channel was one of the few places that was positive during the debate. Like we were
Mm.
fired up for Biden, right? And it was not forced or and it's so easy to just be negative and bash stuff, but you start to develop your niche. Why would people want to come here for a certain event to hang out with you, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
what it comes down to.
Yeah, like wow, I think that really demonstrates it. Like we'll see it all the time, right? Like Twitch channels, right? Will have like the same topic, right? But not everyone's going, like it's not an equal spread. You know what I mean? It's not like there are 100 potential viewers and you're all talking about the debate. It's not 2020. It's more like, what does that person attract? What does that person bring? You just need to find your niche. And I think that's one of the difficulties of maybe having like massive events, is that like I don't know if people get to know more about your niche, and it can be difficult for that individual, right? Not even necessarily just the viewers about knowing who you are, but like, how do you know who you are if all of the people that are coming in aren't coming in for you? That's what's
Yeah.
really difficult.
This is why the panels are a bit of a disaster beyond just a marketing tool once in a while for people, because yeah, you don't know who the person is on the panel, and they don't know who they are either. That's the wild thing, like what you just said right there.
Yeah, it just came to me in the middle of the sentence. Not gonna lie, is I don't, I think it kind of stops this whole part of personal growth. Wow, that was a big realization that I just came to. Well,
I think
well,
so.
well, well.
I think so.
Learn some every day.
I've got to take off here in a couple
Mhm.
of minutes. I don't know, is there any other topics you wanted to brush on real
Uh,
quickly?
I'm gonna let you go, but IRI, shut yourself
Okay.
out. And I gotta say, I really appreciate you coming on to here. I know you consider yourself a boomer in this on this platform, but I think you offer a lot of value, and I really appreciate you for coming on, because the conversation that we may have had, I may not have been able to have with anyone else. You know, I think you offered like a really good perspective as being someone who's been in the community for a while, not as just a streamer, but a viewer as well. And I really do appreciate you here. And I think everyone in chat appreciated it as well.
Right on, dude. Yeah, I'm always happy to chat, and I'm rooting for you.
Thanks.
I think you've got something special, and I just love your optimism and bringing that big smile on the stream. I'm sure it makes a lot of people feel good, right? They love just seeing how positive and happy you are and how knowledgeable. And so I think you got a bright future on here, and I'm glad that you choose to spend your time here, because you could be doing anything you want. You know what I mean? There's a lot of places on the internet you could hang
True.
out if you wanted, uh, and a lot of things you could be doing. So I'm just happy that people like yourself are this engaged in politics. So whatever I can do to help, I'm always happy to. And yeah, I am a bit of a boomer. Like your generation of Twitch politics streamer is the first time I felt a generational gap between Twitch politics streamers. I always looked at new people who come on here as just like, oh, it's another streamer. But I genuinely think there is like generations of Twitch politics streamers now, which is really weird to me because I'm in the older one. But that's life, right? Time keeps moving and things keep happening. But I'm still finding out who I am and what I do in my stream and my niche. And if I can leave positively for at least the other streamers, then I'm really happy about that. And so, yeah, I think we've got something special here in Twitch politics, and not just the streamers, but the community, the people who hang out, the people. I always see myself as just another person at the table hanging out in the room with all these people. I just happen to be one with the camera and the mic, just like you. But I love these conversations we're having here on Twitch, and it's a great place. So as far as my channel, if people don't know, I've been doing this about 2 years. I focus on the House and the Senate. We watch a lot of C-SPAN in my channel, hearings. I think there's a lot of drama, and it's important for me for people to see both sides, and I feel like it's the best way because members get 5 minutes. It goes from Dem to Republican, and it gives me a chance to make people a little more excited about their government, because I believe you got to understand your government if you want to change it. And this idea of some sort of revolution is never going to happen. So you got to be like AOC and get inside the party and change it from within. And so I feel my role is just to help make it as cool and interesting as possible for people to learn about this kind of boring subject of politics and how our government works. So that's what we do on my channel.
Yeah. Well,
But
everyone.
thanks for letting me have your platform for a bit. And like I said, always a pleasure to chat with you.
Yeah. Have a nice night, IRI.
All right, dude. See ya.
Yeah, see you. Oh man, was that not a good convo? Okay, chat.